Hello and welcome to Community Forum, the home version of the program, which we've been getting very used to doing as a result of the coronavirus. We're not able to work out of the studio, and this seems to be something I'm enjoying doing. I may not ever come back to the studio again. They'll have to beg me, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, we're very pleased to have with us today Brad Croall. He is the candidate for Norfolk County Treasurer, and there's going to be a preliminary election on September 1st, which I hope everybody will be taking advantage of it. And we'll talk about the voting and how you can vote during this particular program. In the meantime, I'd like to welcome to the program Brad Croall. Brad, are you there?
Good morning, Roy. How are you today?
I'm excellent. Thank you for asking. Why don't we start off by giving us a little bit of Brad history? What led up to your deciding to run for the office?
Sure. No, and good morning to all of the residents of Stoughton. Happy to be aboard, and big believer in local access television. Again, my name is Brad Croall. I'm a Democratic candidate for Norfolk County Treasurer. The brief bio, I guess, if you will, on me is, married to my wife, Lori, from Walpole. I have two young, beautiful children, Patrick and Brian, who both will celebrate their 5th and 3rd birthday next month, respectively. And we live in my hometown of Quincy. I've been local my whole life. Went to school out at the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth. Came back to the city, started getting involved civically, eventually ran for city council, was elected in a very tight race back in 2011. Since I've went on to serve in various leadership positions on the city council, most recently including city council president. And in my day job, I have I'm afforded the opportunity to work in the financial service sector for a local company here in Boston, and I've done so my entire career. So, what led up to the county treasurer's race? It was a conversation with my wife and I, and just kind of taking into account all that was going on, not only throughout the county, but I think nationally, and looking at it as an opportunity to serve the public, to utilize the skill sets that I've built out in my day job for the last 15 years. And if elected, and I'll get into this later, Mr. Cohen, if elected, hopefully having the opportunity to roll out a financial literacy program to engage with the 28 cities and towns throughout Norfolk County. So that's really my passion, is working with people from a financial literacy standpoint.
Excellent. If you don't mind, we need to get that image adjusted a little bit. Can you move a little bit closer to your so we see more of you? All right, that's much better. Thank you. Good. All right, let's. That's a good background for the position. Why don't we start to dig into a little bit? I don't think many people are aware of what the county treasurer does. Can you kind of get into that so everybody will,
of course,
be knowledgeable?
I would say that's probably the number one question I have when I share with folks that are running for Norfolk County Treasurer is, what is the county treasurer and what do they do? The short version is there's really two critical functions with the job. The first is probably what most folks would anticipate a treasurer does. The county owns multiple assets throughout the county. To name a few, one would be President's Golf Course, several courthouses throughout the county, as well as the building where the Registry of Deeds is, and multiple parking lots. So the treasurer collects the receipts or the revenue from these assets and essentially reconciles the books. That's the first function. And again, that's probably what most people think when they contemplate treasurer. The second, which many people are not aware of, is the Norfolk County Treasurer by default becomes the chairperson on a $1 billion with a B dollar pension fund that is comprised of over 11,000 participants and is truly working class. So you have many people counting on the treasurer and the board to make the right decisions so that retirement benefits stay protected and remain available.
Okay.
So those are two critical functions.
And why is the treasurer an important individual in the county government?
So, first of all, that's a great question. I always come back to, and again, I'm a district councilor, so I represent, a district inside of Quincy that is about 15,000 people. It's very diverse in nature from a socioeconomic standpoint. And I believe that if you're elected, the number one goal is to be an extension of the people. So when you think about the county treasurer, there's a huge fiduciary responsibility that comes with that role. Obviously, we spoke about the pension and having the qualifications to sort of hit the ground running with respect to that role. But, also, it's an elected position. So I feel that any elected position is important because essentially you're articulating, the community values for the people that you represent. So that's, in short, why I feel that role is particularly important. You have a lot of people depending on you, that's for sure. And Stoughton, obviously, we'll talk about it later, is actually a member unit inside of the pension system. Is
it a full-time position? Do you have to give up that financial job that you have to become the treasurer?
Yes, it is a full-time role. If elected, I would obviously have to resign from my full-time position. And again, I think it's all about like what you want to do with it. And I have high hopes for building that office out, to what I feel its potential could be, and that requires a full-time effort.
Mm-hmm. Where's their office? Where's the office located?
On High Street in Dedham.
Okay, across from the courthouse?
Correct. Yep.
Is that the Registry of Deeds building?
Yes, it's all like basically in a triangle right there in the center.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any other experience that you want to talk about that qualifies you for the position of county treasurer?
Well, I think it's really important, particularly given not only the market environment, which we would all agree is evolving, right? But also when we contemplate this idea of revenues from the state subsidization, I feel more than ever it's important to have somebody that actually has a background. And again, my career has been spent specializing in retirement plans, both 401ks as well as defined benefit plans. I'm fully licensed. I have some advanced certifications, including being a certified employee benefit specialist from the Wharton School of Business. And I really pride myself on being a student of the industry because, quite frankly, you have to be. So I feel that from a qualification standpoint, I would be uniquely positioned to hit the ground running.
That sounds like the kind of person we need to win the position. How long is the term of office?
That's a great question, Mr. Cohen. So it's a 6-year term. So when folks make that decision on September 1st, essentially, you're voting for somebody who's going to be occupying a position for 6 years, which is a long time.
Yeah, sure is. And the current position is being held by somebody who's not running again, or what?
That's correct. So originally, we were running in January, right? So it was essentially challenging an incumbent, and then what had happened was the incumbent was not seeking re-election, and then the pandemic hit. And right before the pandemic hit, we had 1,000 signatures plus certified by the Secretary of State. So we were on the ballot, just coincidentally. And then the pandemic hit. Obviously they cut the signatures in half, and that's when the race took a different turn.
Sure. And silly question. Why do you want to be treasurer? I mean, you've got a position now that you've been working at for several years that I'm sure you enjoy. and you're looking to get into the life of a politician, where you every 5.5 years you got to think about running again, and all that kind of stuff. Why do you want to be the treasurer? Why do you want to go through that?
The short answer is for the public good. I do believe that everybody, for lack of a better word, has a calling. I've definitely felt it in my heart that, my calling is in public service. As I mentioned to you, I serve locally in my community, where I truly believe, the rubber hits the road with respect to issues. And I look at the county treasurer's office as a legitimate opportunity to bring forward some programs to help, change people's lives. And I mean that.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about this idea of financial literacy, it's not only a local issue. It's not only a county issue. It's a national, some would argue, worldwide issue. And I feel like that particular office is ripe for a program like that to roll out. And it would give me the opportunity, again, to your point, to leverage some of my skill set from my day job with my passion for public service.
Mm-hmm.
And I know what you're saying about you got to run every year. Like, I don't view it like that. It's if you're doing your job, which I've done as a city councilor, everything else just happens. It's just, again, you got to put the people first and try to push forward on an agenda. And that's where my head's at with respect to running.
I've read that somewhere along the line you had made a statement that you want to reinvent the treasurer's office. What do you mean by that?
Well, again, I would say one of the major challenges that I hear from people is there's a low level of connectivity with that office in the 28 cities and towns throughout Norfolk County. So when I talk about reinventing, I'm talking about just designing an office that is not the way that it is now, like actually being out in the community, connecting with folks, rolling out programs, creating partnerships with various financial planning practices to really ramp it up and engage with the constituents throughout Norfolk County. I mean, I could go on and on with how I feel, the energy could be redirected, but I feel like even just from a philosophical standpoint, looking at some of the investment policies and how we're achieving returns for the participant in the pension plan, like I just see that office as having a tremendous amount of upside from where it is now, and that's what gets me jazzed up, quite frankly.
I pretty much know the answer, being involved in politics in the past. That community outreach is very important. What's your thoughts on that? Increasing the community outreach, getting out and seeing the public or the political, say the selectmen or whatever. I'm sure you'd want to be meeting with them to talk about their wish list and stuff like that. What say you on that?
Well, it's an interesting question. So what I found out over the last 7-8 months is that the issues affecting each city and town throughout Norfolk County, some are the same, but some are drastically different. So if you're talking about program implementation, my opinion is you need to meet with the stakeholders in the community so that you can get a better understanding as to what the issues are, so that you can match the program, with some of the concerns and I guess room for improvement in the various communities, versus the other way around, which would be a one size fits all. So I feel there's a level of customization that needs to happen with respect to any program that rolls out. And the only way that you can do that effectively, in my opinion, is to meet with to your point, maybe some of the elected officials, maybe guys like Roy Cohen, who have been around in Stoughton for a while and are pretty familiar with the issues, just to get a pulse on the community.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. As one of the probably more common subjects being discussed these days is surviving the pandemic, whatever the COVID-19. I'm saying it so much that I'm starting to stumble over it. But surviving the COVID-19, the economy itself has taken a big hit. The monies that are readily available from the cities and towns, because they're not generating the revenue that they're used to generating. Can you explain how the treasurer can assist the residents that have been affected by the COVID-19?
It's a very complex question, and I will do my best to answer it with the time I'm allotted. So when we contemplate municipal budgets, this is my own opinion, I don't think the ultimate effect's really going to take place till next fiscal year. I think we're still kind of, quote, figuring it out, and I do believe that the June unemployment numbers would support that statement. So not necessarily the revenues this year, although that will come into play, but what do the revenues look like next year? And what I mean by that is, like, say, Chapter 70 funding, right, which is the local educational funding we get from the state to the schools in the respective cities and towns. Like, what does that look like? And with that being said, like, how is that going to actually affect county government as a whole, right? So every city and town has an assessment, essentially, that they pay into the county that funds the budget. The budget this year is roughly $31 million, right? County government is essentially a decentralized form of government. Outside of that, you have the retirement pension fund, which, again, the town of Stoughton, I believe, is putting in about $5.5 million between the Stoughton Housing Authority as well as Stoughton proper and employee contributions. So every dollar that we're not receiving from the state to augment things like schools becomes a tougher decision as to, money going out into county government. So the thought becomes, with COVID, I think we're going to have a real issue on our hands next year with respect to county cash flows. And again, getting back to experience and knowledge of not only the financial services sector, but retirement plans, making sure that every dollar that's coming out of the town of Stoughton is being accounted for and managed appropriately. Because again, you need to, with respect to the pension, deliver positive returns for the participants in the plan. So it's a very complex question, Roy. Hopefully I answered it, but I think a lot of it hinges on next year's fiscal budget and what the revenue deficit will look like at that point in time. And I feel, again, that having the experience and understanding of municipal budgets and also pensions, I think would put me in a unique, my learning curve will be a little bit different in terms of the budget.
I hope I can ask this question. It's coming to my mind that there's always the possibility of county government becoming obsolete. Do you think there's a possibility of something like that happening here in Massachusetts?
So folks have, mentioned that similar in Massachusetts. Is that a possibility? Sure, anything's a possibility. The reality of the situation is, right now we have a county government in Norfolk County that is, subsidized by taxpayers. And, with respect to this particular seat, this role is on the ballot for a 6-year term. So to answer your question, anything's a possibility. But today, county government is functioning. It's here.
Everything is working well.
Yeah.
And it's going to work better when you become treasurer.
I agree, Roy.
Always believe in talking positives. Say something nice. That's my theory.
Gentlemen.
Most residents aren't part of the pension system. So can you explain why it's important that they vote in this particular race?
Your town is paying into the pension system. Are paying into county government.
I think the Zoom program is acting up. Can you please repeat that response, because we're having a little bit of a technical problem here. Oh, we lost him. Brad, are you there?
Yes, sir. Of
Okay. Try that response again, please.
course. Just embark.
There you are.
Here we are. With respect to whether or not a city or town is in the pension fund, why would people vote for this role? I believe was the question. Roy?
Yes.
Yeah. So yes, that's a good question. So whether or not you are participating in the pension fund, your tax dollars are subsidizing county government, of which the county treasurer in its office is a part of. So I feel that if you're paying for something, I would think you may want to participate in. Outside of that, again, I'd like the voters to contemplate what my mission is to produce a program that works with families, seniors, individuals to help them understand saving for college, estate planning, really giving people tools and access to professionals, hone their skills with respect to hopefully making better financial decisions. So I feel like we're trying to provide value to the constituents of Norfolk County, and that's why I feel that folks may want to take an interest in this particular race for September 1.
Sure. Is there a way that say I had an excess amount of money that I could invest it in the county at some point?
An excess amount? I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know. I mean, I know in my hometown they always offer, like, if people wanted to make a contribution to the city. I don't know about that with respect, but to the actual pension fund, I would probably think not.
Yeah, it's something you might want to consider when you're in the office there. You talked a great deal about new initiatives in financial literacy and education that they seem to be at the top of the list. Can you talk a little bit more about how you would implement those items?
Sure. Yeah, they're definitely at the top of the list. And what I've really tried to do throughout this campaign is to establish measurable goals. I'm a big on setting out a course because it essentially creates a level of accountability for me or to me with the voters. Again, I think that financial literacy as a concept is a great thing, but in order to be effective, you need to collaborate with people in the various communities. So the way that I would envision this is to almost have like a working group, represent a very diverse working group, representative of the 28 cities and towns. Get folks in a room so that we get a more particular understanding as to what the issues are facing the people that maybe they represent, and then really working together to do a couple things. Number one, partner and roll out the actual plan, but also, and I've had some success with this, working as a city councilor, to develop a private partnership, so that in a perfect world, you would have a private partnership that would essentially subsidize the action of the financial literacy program, whether that was a bank or just a local corporate citizen. I know that it is an area of interest to some of these folks. So for me personally, I would pursue that type of partnership, because again, it would keep the program off of the taxpayers. But in order to do anything that not only is scalable, but I think more so sustainable, right? Like, we're trying to impact people's lives there. You need to get a diverse group of people throughout Norfolk County working together to establish the baseline for the program.
Mm-hmm. Is there an organization of county treasurers throughout Massachusetts where the people might be sharing information, problems and opportunities and stuff like that?
I'm not aware of an actual working group, but that would certainly be something of interest. So I'm a firm believer of, if you want to learn about something, talk to the people that are doing it currently. So I mean, one of my short-term goals will be to, reach out to the various county treasurers, State Treasurer Goldberg, just to kind of get their feedback, right? Because I know many of them have, sort of been through the process, and that's my background, Mr. Cohen. Is I'm a community builder. Like that's really what excites me, is just hearing from different people's perspective and then building things together. Like that's
if there isn't an organization presently, I'm sure that would be a good goal for you. I know that the selectmen have their own, town clerks have their own association where they meet and chat a couple of times a year and share experiences, share problems, share opportunities. And I think that if there's nothing like that available in the treasurer's area, especially these days when there's a lot of things to talk about, mainly survival, that would be a good thing for you to put on your list of priorities.
I think that's a fabulous idea, Roy. I really do.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm not going to run. That's your job. Let me see what else we can talk about. When you are elected treasurer, this thing says if you are. I'm a believer in the positive. When you are elected treasurer, what would be your first priority besides what we just talked about?
My first priority would obviously be to get a better understanding as to some of the folks that occupy the offices. Right, I think that would be the day one, just to get to know the folks that are in the office. I mean, my first priority, and it seems so basic, and in some regards it is. I sometimes feel that the basic is just often overlooked. The day one priority is you just have to get out there. I have to get out there and just start meeting the people who represent the communities throughout the county, establishing, again, what the goals and objectives are for each and every individual town. And then, again, start to try to bring people together to work on and build out programming. But the day one priority, and again, I know it sounds very basic, is you just got to get out there and meet people.
How big a staff does the treasurer have?
It's a fairly nimble office. That's the other component. So there's the treasurer's office proper. My understanding is there may be 5 or 6 jobs there, 5 or 6 employees, and then there is the retirement board that has maybe another 5 or 6 employees. So all in, it's again a rather nimble operation, 11 employees, but a tremendous amount of responsibility.
Is there? Are they well handling? Are they well equipped with computer systems in there?
I don't actually know the answer to that question. I would like to assume so, although I know that I am certain that there's budgetary constraints just because of the fact that it's a decentralized form of government. I don't know exactly where they're at from an IT standpoint. I would hope so, and I think that there's a major opportunity for that, right? To implement technology and create efficiencies.
Yeah, you got to come out of the Stone Age.
Well, we're doing that today. We're on Zoom, right?
Oh yeah. We got to get some touching up here to do to make it smoother than it is. Are you out and about meeting the folks in the county, telling them who you are?
Very respectfully. It's been obviously it's been a challenging time just with engaging with people one-on-one. In a normal environment, there'd probably be more functions and events to see larger groups of people, but obviously a lot of those have not happened. So what we've been doing is, quite frankly, what we're doing here this morning. A lot of virtual discussions, virtual meet and greets. Obviously been doing some social media.
We'll have you up on Facebook by the time this show is over. You'll be we'll be exposing you to a large audience, hopefully.
I appreciate that.
Well, we want the best in there, for sure.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen.
It's strictly an elected position, correct? There's no government, no governor appointing a treasurer or anything like that. It's strictly elected.
Strictly elected unless somebody vacates a term.
Okay.
I am 100% committed.
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
I am 100% committed to the full term.
Well, I hope so. It sounds like you are.
I just want to state, that's all.
You got a young family to support, so definitely there's got to be a commitment. You didn't mention. Do you have any tie-in with the county jail? You didn't mention that as one of the properties that you're responsible for.
My understanding is back, might have been, it was a while back. They basically broke off and became an agency of the state.
They broke off?
So they become a state agency.
Oh, really?
A quasi-state agency, yeah.
Well, that's interesting. Are there any more challenges that you can come up with that the treasurer you'll be facing as the treasurer?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's going to come down to, the cash flows inside of the 28 cities and towns. Remember, county government, as well as the pension fund, if you remember, is subsidized by the cash flows inside of, for example, the town of Stoughton. So again, I see challenges from a budgetary standpoint for fiscal year 2022. I do. I think the revenues are going to be off from the state, and that's going to force decisions locally and, may alter the cash flow coming into the county, may alter the cash flow from an employer standpoint coming into the county pension system. I think there's going to be some tough decisions that will happen. And I feel that, having the background in the fiscal awareness,
sure,
I'll certainly be an advocate for the taxpayers in Norfolk County, no question.
Is the financial commitment from each city and town solid, or is it affected by a vote from town meeting? I mean, is the money that's committed?
So essentially, there's an assessment done for each city and town based on property value, which you come up with equalized value for a town. My understanding is it's roughly about a nickel per thousand for a property owner that goes to the county. This is, again, I'm learning as I go because I don't sit in the role and I don't have access to the intricate details, but that's my understanding. So that becomes essentially a fixed payment that comes to the county. Again, from an employer standpoint, the schedule for pension funding is set, and every member unit of the county pension system essentially is on the hook to provide whatever their share is. Stoughton, I think, is about $5.5 million coming out of your tax base going into the pension system every year between both the housing authority as well as the town proper.
So as long as property value keeps climbing, the amount of money's being sent over to the county treasurer's office should be increasing.
It should at least stabilize. My understanding is they went through a budget hearing, was finally voted on and passed by the advisory board, and that's another thing. Every city and town has a representative from their respective city or town that serves on an advisory board, and it's part of the decision-making process. So they went through the budget this year. There was definitely some cuts that had taken place, and we ended up with a $31 million enterprise budget. Yeah,
I remember about 30 years ago serving on the Norfolk County Advisory Board.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, at the time I was on the Board of Selectmen. Not many people remember that just because it's so long ago, but
you have some familiarity then. That's okay.
Yeah. Well, anyways, that was an enjoyable part of the job, going over there and sitting there and meeting with the advisory board, working with Dick Stady, who was the chairman. I was the vice chairman, and my responsibility was on the jail subcommittee, and that was before they built the new one. That
Okay.
was, I still have some very, very vivid memories of wandering through that old jail before they moved out of there into the new building and converted that one to I guess, condos or something. That was,
I mean, you recalled one of the, as I've heard it referred to, the jewels of the county assets is the Norfolk County Agricultural School, which has,
the Aggie School.
Yeah, exactly, and has a major, a large part of that budget is subsidized right through the state, Chapter 70 funding, which we're not completely clear what will happen with those revenues. Hopefully, they stay intact, but keeping entry to that particular vocational school affordable for the children of Norfolk County, I think, is also a pressing priority.
I'm sure they're having to pick the best to start in at the school these days, when vocation is becoming the goal of a lot of the youngsters graduating from high school. They either have a choice of going to college or a vocational school, and I think they picked the vocational school to be able to jump right into a good paying job when they graduate.
No, you're absolutely right, and you hit the nail on the head. And I have many local relationships in labor. I didn't really mention this at the outset, but my dad was a 30-plus year member of Labor's Local 1421. So I look at some of these opportunities that are available to the kids today, to your point, through vocation. It's absolutely incredible. And a wonderful way to make a living, for sure.
I remember way back, I'm talking back in the 50s, in that era, that if you went to a vocational school, you were less smart than the ones who went to college. It was like, if that's what's left, that's where you go. But things have certainly turned about where they become the priority of a lot of students.
It's really interesting too, not to get too far off the subject, but I look at like my two children, and my youngest is just extremely technical with his hands. Just his mobility and fine motor skills are incredible, and I'm just curious to see where that leads him.
Well, you got to encourage them no matter what. Get those tinker toys and start building with them.
Just the evolution of children's toys today is something to behold, and everything feels like has a purpose. Versus I feel like when I was a kid, it was just general toys and you just played with them. But now everything has like a purpose to it. It's fascinating.
Absolutely. We can kind of get back, because we still have some time left, on the core functions of the Treasurer's office, which is managing the pension system. Are there ways that you would implement change from how it is currently running now? What would you do to make things better?
We'll certainly facilitate some conversations. Look, when you contemplate, so let me take a step back. The number one job in anybody that assumes a fiduciary role is to do what's in the best interest of the participants, right? So in this case, you're working to oversee and collaborate with a board and an investment consultant to generate the most positive returns for the pension fund. Like that's essentially the critical function. But I look at it like, is there opportunities to maybe take a different approach as to how we're structuring these investment portfolios? And what I mean by that is, are there companies that locally we could be looking to invest in, and in some cases maybe even divest from, right, that aren't within accordance to our community values? So I look at like renewables, like you contemplate that as an asset class, and they've done pretty well, right? So is there like, the mindset becomes, is there an opportunity to generate positive returns for the participants in the retirement plan, which is the goal, but do it in a socially structured manner? I mean, I think that's a great conversation to have on the table. From maybe even a investment in real estate. I know you had said like doing things locally, and again, I'd have to get more acclimated as to what the intricacies of the policy statement is for the board, but is there an opportunity to, be investing in the creation of affordable housing or workforce housing locally, right? So
Sure.
what becomes you're creating local jobs and you're creating housing for people that need it.
Who makes the ultimate decision as to what's being invested and where?
So there is a investment consultant that essentially helps structure the portfolio, and then my understanding is it's a vote of the board.
They have to. I'm sure they're going to be starting to look into companies that are coming up with serums to help people who might be sick with the COVID-19 to improve their health. There's a lot of companies that are, including I think 1 or 2 in Massachusetts, who are coming up with the solution to the COVID problem, and that might be something where you guys might be looking into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think all these conversations should be on the table.
Sure. Absolutely. Is there anything that people should know about you that when they hear about it, they're going to be surprised?
Is there anything people should know about me that they hear about that they're going to be surprised? In terms of
Brad, you're out there. You're a member of all the little leagues, all the kids programs, other treasury type jobs, other things that people might want to be aware of what the next treasurer is like.
Oh, I guess when I'm not out participating in, little league sports, we're not really there yet, but doing things with my children, or, working in the financial services. I guess one fun activity I like to do, right? Maybe that's something.
Sure.
Is, go out with my wife and sing karaoke.
It's what?
Different. Huh?
Do you like to what? I didn't get that.
Go out with my wife and sing karaoke.
You are a singer?
Yeah. Well,
that's surprising.
That word singer loosely. I use it loosely, but yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Do you play any instruments or anything like that?
No, I don't. I don't play any instruments. My oldest is really taking a liking to instruments, so I'm kind of curious to see how that goes. But no, I was not. I tried the saxophone, and to be honest with you, I split way too many reeds, so that was a short-lived career.
Yeah. Is there anything more specific that you'd like to tell the voters? Have we covered 90%? There must be another 10% someplace.
What's that?
There must be another 10% of what we need to know about you.
Again, I'm a father. I'm a husband. I serve in local office. I think with respect to this particular, office, we're essentially signing up for a 6-year term. Hopefully, I've laid out a plan of action that you can measure me on and hold me accountable to.
Okay. Is there? Do you have a website? Do you have a phone number? Do you have a way of contacting you if people want to find out more about you?
By all means, my website is my name. It's Brad, B-R-A-D, Croall, CROALL.com. Phone number, I don't know if you'll flash that on the screen, but it's 617 area code 930-0106. And we're accessible, obviously, through multiple social media means. And certainly welcome people's feedback as it relates to the time we spend here today, Roy. I really do.
To be able to answer some questions that I'm sure a lot of people might have for you. I'm looking at the piece that you mailed out to the county, and it says that you oversee a $1 billion county retirement system. That's a lot of responsibility.
The part that's not in there, obviously due to space, it's got about $1.5 billion in liability, even more of a responsibility, particularly given the market environment that we're in.
Right.
My humble opinion is experience matters, particularly at this inflection point in time. In this race.
the county treasurer has to have a financial background. I mean, that's a given.
I would agree with that. I would agree.
Okay. So basically, if they want to, hopefully they all got the same card that I got, and it's a brief resume of you yourself and a beautiful picture of your young family, and I'm sure you have the ongoing support of your wife. I think you mentioned that at the beginning. For this job, it's a lot of work. I did it several times on a local basis, not expanding outside of Stoughton many years ago, and that was a lot of work. You're doing it county-wise, and you should continue to have the strength to work yourself through it.
Pray for it every day, Roy. And, publicly just like to take a moment to your point and thank my wife. Like, she no doubt is my biggest supporter because, to your point, it's a massive undertaking, but, she fully believes in the mission of helping people. And, that's why we're doing this. We're in it to help people.
Those are good reasons.
Yeah.
The election date is September 1st, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I haven't received it yet, but my understanding is the mail-in voting applications are in transit.
Yeah, we received a couple of them last week.
Okay.
Already filled them out and mailed them back in. I'm thinking about voting in person. I've seen some clips that the local secretary or the local town clerk put together. I don't think I'd want to stand in line and vote in person. I think I would much rather do the voting by mail, and I filled out the card and I returned it. May I suggest that if people are going to be doing that, don't forget to look at the bottom of the card that you're sending back, where it's highlighted in red. It says sign here. If you don't sign the card, it's not going to count. So please remember to do that. And that's and check off where you want the information sent and when, because it has provisions for the preliminary and the actual election in November. It's all there, easy reading. So voting by mail, even though up in Washington they think that everything's fake or whatever, it's a good way to go. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, whatever your level of comfort is. Interestingly enough, I've been out at various town elections, and some had more activity than others. Like, we were in Sharon for their town election. There was a lot of people that came and voted in person, and subsequently at other ones there was not. So that was sort of the first pass through on the mail-in voting, and hoping everything goes well for this round in the Democratic primary, September 1.
Okay. Do you happen to have the card there, or can you reiterate some of the information that's on the card? We have a few minutes left where we can listen to you tell us again about your 15 years of working in the financial services, et cetera.
Sure. Yeah, I do not have the card in front of me, but so I spent my entire career working in the financial services industry, specializing in retirement plans, so 401ks and defined benefit plans. When I haven't been working in that particular sector of or area of the financial services sector, I've worked in the investment consulting. So I'm extremely familiar with how different investments work, how their fee programs work, which is very important when you contemplate pension funds. And, like I said, I pride myself on being a student of the business because you have to be. It's so ever changing, and you got to be in it, particularly when you're representing 11,000 people's financial interests through the pension.
Sure. One of the great things about doing this kind of programming is you get to meet a lot of people that are apparently well qualified and they got the right attitude and they want to help out their communities. And I certainly feel that's the case with you.
Thank you, Mr.
your
Cohen.
background, your overall picture is something of a tremendous possibilities, or you'll be a great asset to the county if and when you're elected. Also, on your particular piece, it states that we need a treasurer with the background and experience to oversee a $1 billion retirement system. And it says that you are the only candidate with the experience that's needed, financial services and budgeting experience in both the public and private sectors. You have 2 young kids, a determination to help your fellow citizens. And as treasurer, you'll bring into the office in every community, creating financial programs to improve the lives of all Norfolk County residents. Does that sound like you?
That's me.
That's
in a nutshell.
Live
That's
and
me in a
living
nutshell.
You're running because you know the office can make a real difference in the lives of everyone in Norfolk County. It's about creating a platform of accountability, transparency, and being accessible. It's about leveraging your experience working in the private sector to build programs that are produce positive outcomes. It's about having the knowledge and passion to want to serve the residents of Norfolk County and roll up our sleeves and get the job done. I like that. That sounds
roll
great.
up our sleeves and get the job done. That's me to a T. Like, just want to go to work.
So you'll hopefully make it through the preliminary, and then we'll get you back on here again to remind people that they should vote for you in the November election. I would say that's it, unless you have.
I just want to thank you again, Roy. I want to thank you again, Roy, and Stoughton Access Television, and to those folks who took time out of their lives to tune in today. Again, my name is Brad Croall, Democrat running for Norfolk County Treasurer. I respectfully ask for your vote on September 1st. And if you would kindly remember that when you go to the poll, vote for Croall, Norfolk County Treasurer. Thank you again, Mr. Cohen.
Okay, and one more shot with the telephone number in the email and all that information, please.
Sure. Website is Brad Croall, BradCroall.com. Telephone number 617-930-0106, and accessible through all social media mediums as well. And like I said, welcome your feedback.
Excellent. Well, Brad, nothing but the best. I
wish
you well, and I'm sure that we'll be talking to you again.
I appreciate it, sir.
Okay. At this point, I want to thank Mike Hammond back at the studio, CJ Mullen, Dave Young, and Rob Rotella for their assistance back in the studio to making this show happen. But we'll see you again soon. Bye now.